who are you? Where are you from? That kind of
For sure.
stuff.
For sure. I
Yeah.
just had to shut the effects off my mic for a minute there.
Oh, I
I
sh
was kind of reverbing you a little bit. So,
let me
so
check mine too. That's a good idea. I never even thought. Oh yeah, I'm off. Okay.
welcome, friends. So, yeah, I'm Saphira Mireu. I'm from Canada. I'm in a little province called Saskatchewan, which is one of the
Okay.
smaller western side parts of Canada, mostly prairie here. Although I lived up north for a long time where there's forest and stuff. And actually, yesterday we were dealing with smoke from the forest fires up north.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It was
I
bad.
came to this app, and when I first started uh, my my broadcasts, they were called my therapy session. Because when I first came to this app, I had literally just got out of prison. So, and I had spent a fair amount of time in prison um, for a crime that was 100% alcohol and drug related. So, alcohol and drugs changed my entire life. Um, I was one of those people who went through my whole life believing, that wasn't me. That's not me. People talk about alcoholics and drug addicts, and they think they're all people who are on the street who are, scrubby and don't have their life together, and they've got no job, they got no nothing, they've got nothing in their
Mm-hmm.
lives. And that was not me. I was the executive director of an organization. I owned my
Wow.
house, it was paid for. I owned my vehicle. It wasn't paid for, but I owned a brand new vehicle. I was renting in another city, renting out a house. I had it all. I had it all, from the aspect of whether or not you have your, finances together and your career in line. And on weekends, I was performing as a musician, or a rock musician, and a wrestler, pro wrestler, which I
Wow.
did for 16 years. The
Wow.
pro wrestling side of it. The music I did my whole life. Um, and so that was where I was when life took a turn for me. I was at the top of the mountain,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll give you a chance to talk here. I tend to talk a lot once I get going,
No,
so
it's okay. I'm totally want to give you the floor here because I've listened to you, I've seen your lives, and I know that I'm not gonna have to like redirect you or anything like that because you do, this is what you do now,
it's a big part of what I do
right?
now. Yeah.
So,
So,
alcohol and drugs took everything from you, didn't it? Really, if you think of it.
yeah, and technically, it took everything for me long before I realized it had. Like,
Yeah,
again, I was a professional and an executive director of an nonprofit organization. I had people who trusted me, people who looked up to me. I had staff I'd worked for years. I was the person that no one would have ever believed had alcohol and drug issues that would ruin my life, right? And so we all think that alcoholics are people who are wandering down the street, staggering 24/7. I wasn't drunk all the time. Um, you
hmm
know, you don't need to be drunk all the time to be an alcoholic. If you get drunk, period, and you like it, and you go back and do it again, chances are you got a problem. Um, so I was living the rock and roll lifestyle, right? I call about this my roll and life. Well, my rock and roll life is very different now from when it was back in those days. But when you're
yeah,
touring with a band, there's coke in the back room, there's alcohol on the stage. Although it's funny, I never drank when I sang because I knew it affected
right,
my voice. But
right.
it still didn't stop me from doing coke. you know.
Yeah,
Um, But, people would see me and just automatically assume, you've got it all together, right? You've got it all together.
hmm
There can't be anything wrong in your life. Um,
yeah.
I was a parent of 5 kids, and I look back now and
Wow.
I apologize to my kids every day. As a single mom, they grew up in a party house. It wasn't fair. It was not right. things that I thought were normal back then, I look back and I think, oh my God, my poor kids, right? But in the moment, you don't think those things are weird because you've got it together. You got friends who drink way more than you do. I had friends who used to say to me, how do you keep a case of beer by your fridge for a week? Well, I don't need to drink it every day. But when I drank, holy cow, you know, when I did sit down and drink, nobody was going to drink me under the table. So,
Yeah.
right. It was almost like a game. It was a contest. You know, back in those
Yes.
days, you had to prove you were who you were, right? And if you couldn't own your
Yes.
alcohol, what the hell, right? Let alone the coke and everything else that went along with the lifestyle. So, um, this brings me to my life in 20. It's not that long ago, 2014, 2015. Um, I had two major wrestling accidents back to back, 4 days apart, concussions. And a week to 10 days after that second concussion, I went into seizures. Was raced into the hospital, and they told me, you need to quit. One more hit to the brain head, you'll probably die. You've got old scar tissue in your brain. This is not good. You should not be wrestling. So that was hard because my deal was I was going to make it to 50, and I was 48 at that point. So I had
Right.
another 2 years. I was not retiring yet, but here I was. I was forced into retirement. Anyways, out of that came some real serious medical issues. So I had what we call long-term post-concussion syndrome. So for months and months, and actually for almost 2 years after that, I had dizzy spells, balance issues. I had even actually for the first 6 months I had a stutter. I couldn't
Oh,
couldn't
yeah.
speak properly. So I had some serious brain issues for a while there, and yet I was seeing a neurologist.
Psychologist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, it was a
Okay.
neurologist who
Oh, okay.
continuously told me there was nothing wrong with me. I didn't,
Yeah.
you know, they put me on meds, and the meds made me like a zombie, and I hated them. So I
Uh-huh.
didn't want to take the meds. Well, if you don't want to take the meds, there's nothing wrong with you. You can, they kicked me out of the office kind of thing. So my life was
Yeah.
falling apart. I had a job I hated. I was having a really hard time with money. I was in an abusive relationship. The partner was beyond abusive. And life was falling apart for me. And I went home for Christmas that year in 2015. Was miserable through my whole Christmas. Drank through my whole Christmas. Went home to a home alone. Tried to get in touch with my partner. And night after night, he had excuses why he wasn't coming for New Year's dinner. December 31st, he was busy at work. January 1st. Anyways, long story short, I knew he was sleeping around on me. I knew that what was going on. But on January 3rd of 2016, I'd had enough. I couldn't take it anymore. I had made dinner. I had it set out. I was already, had the wine poured, and he canceled again. So I proceeded to polish off the bottle of wine. Got into a tub of water, a bathtub. Thought, I'm just going to have a bath. I'm just going to relax. And came out of the tub. I was absolutely miserable. Didn't even stop to think that I'd had a bottle of wine at this point. Texted a friend that I knew I could probably hook up with, get some drugs if I wanted. I said, why don't you meet me
Yeah.
over at the corner bar? So he said, sure, I'll be there within the hour. So, not even thinking that I drank a bottle of wine, I get into my vehicle. I drive the lousy 4 blocks to the bar, sit up at the bar, and proceed. People are buying me booze. I don't know. As a woman, I think as a woman, that's a problem that women tend to have more than men.
Yes.
People will always buy you drinks, including the bartenders were serving me shots, and the beers kept flowing, and the guy showed up, and I mean, we hooked up. It didn't matter. I never did get to the drugs, but so drank, and then the bartender suggested I should go to this other bar with him later, where they do karaoke. And I thought, yeah, I've been there years ago. Like, we should go. So, anyways, I said I'd meet him there because he told me he could give me a ride, but it'd be only one way. I'm thinking, what good is a one-way ride? So, I mean, I'm wasted at this point and don't realize I'm wasted, of course. Nobody tries to stop me. I walk out of the bar, I get in my
Yep.
vehicle, I drive to the second bar. I don't even know how I found the second bar because I don't know where it is. Somebody must have given me directions or something. I got there. I have very little memory of even being in that bar. I had a few drinks, I know that. I remember falling in that bar, and I remember thinking, you're messed up. What are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I left. And so the second time I left the bar with keys in my hands, nobody tried to stop me. And I went out and I got into my vehicle. I don't remember driving. I remember somebody coming and finding me in my vehicle. By that point, I had driven out thinking I'm sure that I was driving home, driving in the totally wrong direction. I should mention I'm in a city that I just moved to 6 months earlier, so I didn't know the city that well. And I don't know if I fell asleep at the wheel because I know I had a habit of when I was going to be hitting like highway speeds, I'd throw it on cruise control, right? So didn't feel the rumble strips, didn't see the stop sign, went through a stop sign, and I T-boned a family of 4. Needless to say, I am the only one who walked away from that accident. I was arrested at the scene, and long story short, I was given the longest sentence ever given for the crime in this province because an entire family perished in that accident. It's a family of 4 that I carry with me every day. If anybody thinks that living with the lives of 4 people is an easy thing, I can tell you it is not. And I had to come to terms with that. I was given a 10-year sentence, of which the way that the criminal system works in Canada is you serve 1/3 of the sentence, and then you're entitled for parole. I should mention I never got, I got day parole. I never got full parole, despite the fact that I was never considered a risk to reoffend. There was so much media attention around the accident, not just nationally but internationally, because the gentleman who died in the accident was a famous photographer known internationally. So I literally was given a 10-year sentence, of which I served almost a full 4 years behind bars.